Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall 2. What to expect, how they can improve. We're going to be talking a little bit about the fight. I got a lot of clips to talk about. But what a sloppy fight it's going to be. So, first, let's go ahead and take a look at some kind of offensive clips here. And a few things we're going to be looking at. Now, Josh Taylor, man, he doesn't really have an active guard. He's not really changing positions. And this is a really, really interesting and important idea is that every time he gets to the line, every single time he gets to the line, if you just if you're an orthodox guy and you have a guy that's fighting with this guard, you just throw a straight right hand. In Jack Catterall's case, a straight left hand, you're gonna hit him, right? If you just explode into your guard, because he never has his hand up in a position to intercept it, right? And this plays in a huge, huge, huge and important idea, an important part in the fight because it allows Jack Catterall to kind of just shuffle around, do nothing, not control any space, not feint, not do anything, and then just kind of explode into his attack. Now, he has a little follow up here while he pendulums forward. Not very common, but he's probably going to need it this time if Josh Taylor can actually block a straight left hand. Okay. I'm not expecting him to be able to do that by any stretch. But if he could, for some reason, be able to do that, and again, coming in, guard is low. Look at that lead hand, how it's so far out. And when he gets into this position, feinting, this is the same timing that would jab would be coming, the same timing as everything. He's just open for it. And again, it was just something that was consistent throughout the course of the entire fight. Every time he would get on the line, if Catterall threw a straight left hand right there, if he threw a straight left hand right here, if he threw a straight left hand here, if he threw a straight left hand here. Now, this part's really interesting because, as I just said, if Jack Catterall threw a straight left hand here, now he's throwing a jab instead, and this is really interesting because Jack Catterall is one of those kind of bladed fighters, and he learns to fight after exploding out of his right. Okay, Manny Pacquiao would do this too against some smaller or like slower fighters. He could counter with just the left, but most of the time he has to pull or he has to interact by throwing the right hand first, and it's really really interesting because it makes this style of controlling the line so much more difficult, so much more taxing. Okay, and now jumping on the line with a 1 here, and now he's going to jump on the line with a 1-2. Okay, this is really interesting because Josh Taylor, after making first contact with the guy, notice not really great defense here, right? He didn't really move his head. He kind of like crouched a little bit, changed levels as they call it. Didn't really move his head though. He just kind of went down a little tiny bit. Um, but it stops him from being able to get off the line or be very predictable because he's not really crossing the line. His opponent knew his head was still going to be at the end of that jab, so he just kind of had to explode into that 1-2. Now, this is interesting because it's very likely that this is only a problem because they're in the closed stance. Josh Taylor is probably very used to fighting orthodox fighters, and the mechanics for fighting an orthodox fighter are just a little bit different than fighting in the closed stance. And you know what combos and what this and what that. So it's very interesting to see him struggle with such a beginner combination. The 1-2. Oh, like oh, be careful. He's gonna throw a straight left hand at you, like obviously, right? But very interesting again with the little pull counter like motion here as Josh Taylor gets on the line. Again, all he has to do is make sure he just throws that left hand. And now pulling, going down, right, and really lunging into this shot. Kind of missed. His head movement is not that great. Catterall's, for the most part, like a karate fighter, like a belated stance fighter. So he has a very, very difficult job getting his momentum going, keeping an eye on his target. But again, like it's an interesting thing too because if you throw any punches at Taylor, he kind of freezes up. Now that's not to say that Taylor's not tough. Taylor is a very very tough guy, but he doesn't really interact with you very well once you start interacting with him. Now again, look at his kind of I don't want to call it that Philly shell, right? Or like that I guess that's what it is, but it's not here, right? Um, it's worse, right? Because the his lead hand is not wrapped around his body. It's not close to blocking body shots. It's not doing anything, right? But it's not blocking either, right? It's not guarding. It's not up top. It's not threatening the jab, right? And again, as soon as he takes a step onto the line here, back foot, he's taking a step on the front foot. He doesn't have an active guard. He hasn't been moving his head across the line. He has no intention when he gets his weight to the line of even crossing the line anyway. He doesn't know how to block. Just a basic 1-2 gets him. Okay, very very boom boom. And again, he even landed an uppercut in the sequence. Immediately wraps the guy's head. And this, we're going to talk about this and the impact that this has on the fight later. Um, yeah, not a fan. I'll say not a fan. But again, same thing. As soon as he gets onto the line, boom, boom, he can just jump onto the line with the 1-2, and Taylor has basically no guard. Now, if he hasn't been able to figure this out, right, and he's still susceptible to a 1-2 like this, and he doesn't, whatever, whatever, he's going to get annihilated, right? This is essentially like Devin Haney 2.0, right? All the guy has to do is be able to jump onto Taylor's line really quick and throw a 1-2 pop out. Now, I actually thought Jack Catterall won this fight. I thought that even though it wasn't pretty, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. We're gonna talk about my thoughts on it later. Now, Taylor's gonna get on the line, feint him here, right, and then get off the line from that shot. Okay, so very very interesting, right? Finally getting a little bit of timing. Finally at the end of the fight, letting this big windy, big, ooh, right? But Josh Taylor finally getting a little bit of control of Jack Catterall, now able to follow him back up. And I want to point out here, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later too, going to the body here. Very important. Very, very tough to hit Jack Catterall to the head over the top there because of his like very, very, very crafty and expert level defense that we're going to talk about. It's really, really amazing, guys. Getting on the line with a feint, getting off the line of that 2 right there. And again, at the end of the fight, all of a sudden, the only move that Jack Catterall even had, right? Even though this is still like not that great of a defense for Josh Taylor, still not, right? He could still get hit by a follow-up shot, right? If Jack Catterall was like, man, I had a really large amount of success just punching him in the face with my straight left hand. Maybe I'll follow that up with a right hook, maybe, right? Something as basic as just like obvious as just hit him with a 2-3, right? Or 2 leaping 1, okay? Now, going to the body again, right? And again, we're going to talk about why that's important later. Um, yada, 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 all that fun stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about some of Josh Taylor's offense, tailor made. Okay, now as he gets on the line, who is this? Is this Andre Ward in the ring? Dang. Under the line here, right? No big deal. He's not below the waist or anything, which is fine. So he's here, but he's gonna kind of shove Josh Taylor. Man, to be honest, I don't really have too much of a problem with that. A little bit physical, it's okay. Not too physical, but a little bit physical is okay. So he kind of shoves him a tiny bit. But this move, when he gets under the jab, right, allows him to kind of rest. It allows him to not have to throw his 1-2, right? We saw how he likes to counter with the 1-2, again getting under. But it does this other thing of preventing Josh Taylor from following up with his own straight left hand. Now he could still throw the shot to the body, right? Like Devin Haney could have hit Ryan Garcia to the body, um, but for some reason he would circle around to the front of him and get uppercutted. Um, but it makes it very, very difficult for him to hit him with the natural most common follow-up punch, the 1-2, right? Makes it very, very difficult getting under this shot. And while this is not necessarily illegal, right? It's not illegal here. It's very strange. But I want you guys to take a look at the position that he wound up in here with Taylor kind of controlling him here. We're going to take a look at some other clips like this as well. But Taylor did have a couple of random adjustments here. Instead of going over the top, control gets him to come under. You can see he kind of gets him with an uppercut here before he winds up, for some reason, Jack Catterall winds up in this weird position. And like, let's just take a look at what Jack Catterall's doing here, by the way. He's all the way on the back of the ropes, gets pushed off of the line. Ducks below the waist a little bit. And then, like, isn't he supposed to be, like, punching? Right? Like, he's supposed to be punching his opponent right now, right? Okay, just making sure. So he should be punching right now, but he's not punching. He's looking to do what? What? Now, again, uppercut here, getting controlled on it and framed on his head. Now, when we think about this, we think about officiating, we think about in this sequence, it doesn't look like Taylor did anything, right? Like it's like he's doing anything illegal, right, with his forearm. But this is the same position that Floyd Mayweather would always get criticized for. Don't use your forearm. And it's like, hey, he's on your line, right? Like, what? My hand's all of a sudden not allowed to be here. My hand was here first. He put his head here, right? Now, it's a weird place to be in, but most of the reason that it's a weird place to be in is because of the way that the rest of the officiating is done. And again, we're going to talk about some of the officiating a little bit later. But a few other things that he would do. Okay, he's going to come in here, and now he's going to be thinking it's a jab, and he's going to be able to duck it. Now, I want you guys to think about this. Okay, I want you guys to think about his defense here and how like brilliant, masterful this defense is. Now, I don't want you to think about the fact that he's getting smacked in the face with this left hook here. Boom! And that's really terrible. Nobody wants to get hit in the face, but I want you guys to think about it. He's like watching his opponent. He's like, oh, eyes like a hawk, right? I see him coming. Here he comes. Oh, he's just about to spring into his jab. And then he's like, man, what's the best jab defense that I can think of? All right, you know what? I'm going to put my head down and just kind of duck. I'm not even going to bring my hands up. I'm just going to. Exactly. This is not defense. This is shit. This is shit. This is some guy just ducking randomly. Randomly. No rhyme or reason. It's just a guy with what some people might call common sense. Right? Someone tried to punch you in the face, so you ducked. But there's no skill in this. This is not defense. Okay, ducking below the waist or trying to get below the jab so you can body up with the guy. It's horseshit. Okay? If you knew that guy was going to do that move, right? Why didn't you just punch him in the face? Hmm? Wouldn't that be better? Right? Let's take a look at Josh Taylor's guard, by the way. Wow, look at that. His hands are down. And when he gets on the line, if I knew he was going to get here, I could have just punched him in the face if I knew that he was going to be here. But again, this is the most important part of the fight, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later when we talk about the officiating. Okay? It's really a lot of work when you're a bad puncher, when you're a shitty puncher, to keep a guy off of you. Okay? To keep a guy off of you by punching him in the face. Okay? And Jack Catterall's not a puncher. Okay? He's not going to keep this Josh Taylor zombie, right? This big weight bully of a man. This guy's like 5'11", fighting at 140 pounds. This might be at 147. I'm not sure if they both moved up or not, or Josh Taylor decided to move up and like Catterall followed him for the rematch, and I don't know. But this guy is a massive dude. And the reason that Jack Catterall has to cheat is because he's actually not a good enough puncher to be competing in this weight class. He has to use bad, unsound defensive tactics, ducking below the waist, holding, fouling. Again, we're going to talk about it later. Let's talk about it later, okay, guys? Stop egging me on, all right? I get all passionate about this. Bodying up, oh, beautiful. Okay, so taking a step back and following up with a little bit left hook right here. Beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful inside fighting. Great adjustment from Taylor. Anticipates the body up, pendulums off the line as Jack Catterall's trying to get weight onto his front foot, create space with his own little bump that he's been using. Taylor catches him with the shot. Excellent. Excellent. Not much to it, right? Easy work. Easy work. Uh, Ducking below the waist. Now, it did take Josh Taylor quite a few rounds to get comfortable just finding body shots here. Now, man, ducking like that. Is that good defense, guys? Is that, anyway, we're not going to spend too much time harping on it. Okay. Excellent defense there. Tie him up. Tie him up. Again, that's an illegal move. You're not allowed to actually do that. We took a look at this clip already. Now, sometimes Josh Taylor wouldn't actually find any punches, and he would kind of sit on the line right there um, and get kind of cracked. You know, I think a lot of these shots on the inside of the guard, Catterall was quick enough to let go. But again, when you take a look at the rest of this clip, look at how fast and vicious that shot is. Even though he's not a puncher, it's a really, really, um, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of energy. Now, you say I saw that clip right there. He doesn't really defend his positions here. Josh Taylor's going to do the same thing here, land the body shot, and again, look at him get hit over the top here. Okay, now sloppy boxing. Okay, it's not that great. Boom. Josh Taylor, for some reason, after landing a shot like this, you know, is he bodying up? Is he trying to shove him into the ropes? Is he trying to take control of his line physically and bully him? Is he just getting back to his own line and he just didn't want to throw any punches, couldn't throw any punches? My vote is can't because Josh Taylor's not really a right hook guy. He throws that straight left hand to the body or sometimes to the head, but not against this guy. Um, but he doesn't really throw a lot of right hooks, and it's because he can't really move his head. So after he throws his rear hand and he's all, his weight's shifted to the front foot, he has to get back and he doesn't know how to do it while throwing punches. Winds up in this weird position, right, where he's kind of in purgatory with this weight and it's kind of easy to hit him, and this is, one of the reasons also why Josh Taylor fouls because after he throws a punch, his line is so exposed, right? Because he's actually also not a very good puncher. He kind of shoves and pushes and it's kind of like a bruiser style. I don't know if that's what it would be. But let's go ahead and take a look at some clips here. So I'm getting on the line here, boom, and again the same problem that Josh Taylor has the whole time. He's going to take a step onto the line, and no matter what he does, his guard never blocks rear hand. So all his opponent has to do is make sure that he's throwing a rear hand, throwing a rear hand. He drops him. Beautiful, right? Oh my God. Now watch Catterall punch him in the back of the head right here after already dropping him. Isn't that nuts, dude? So Ryan Garcia. By the way, um, do you guys remember when they were mad at Ryan Garcia or at the ref for taking a point away from Ryan Garcia for hitting Devin Haney on the break, even though he hadn't been warned? And it's like, no, no, that was a deliberate foul. It's not like when people pretend like they didn't hit somebody low, or like you push somebody's head down and they punch you low and they didn't mean to punch you low. They meant to punch you in the stomach and you hit it's not like that. That's a deliberate foul. If you deliberately foul somebody, you lose a point. That's that's the rule. If it's a deliberate foul, if you are doing it, right? But if it's an accident, that's different. right? Now, again, when we get to talking about the officiating, we get to talk about the rules. Boom, boom, throws the 1-2. Josh Taylor, is he ducking below the waist? Is it on purpose? Is it this? Uh, is he leaning on top of his head? Why? Well, because he's not a good puncher. He's not a good striker. He's all off balance because he's going to fall off balance and he doesn't want to pay for it. So it's easier with that very crappy, 90s style karate, bladed stance boxing to, instead of get back to your position, control your opponent, feinting or probing or throwing a combination or doing something legal. It's just easier, right, to kind of lean on top of them, right? Hold them, foul them, right? Or just duck below the waist yourself, right? Now, he punches him here again, holding him down below the waist and punching him, which is, again, a blatant foul. Now, I want to point out real quick it, what if he wasn't holding him here and just he was putting his head down here on his own and leaving it there and his opponent punched him? Who's fouling then? All right, that's some food for thought for people who are fans of other people ducking below the waist. You know, I wonder, if they're going to give away with this stuff, how long until people just start approaching the line already below the waist, just already ducked, right? Anyway, holding him down. The ref is breaking them up. He already said break. And look at him, still holding his head down. Still holding his head down. The ref has touched him. Look at this. If you guys are new to my channel, you'll never guess, you know. But I think this kind of stuff is, say with me if you're not new to the channel, disgusting. This is disgusting. So he throws that shot, misses, tries to wrap his arm around his head, throws this shot, misses, again, trying to shove his head down, right? Is that good boxing, guys? Is that good boxing? I don't think so. Miss the shot. Now, if you miss a shot, right, and you're out of position, you're supposed to get punched in the face, right? If you don't want to get punched in the face, you should have trained harder, right? Now, as you're moving around and a better opponent is circling and moving around with you, when they find you out of position, they're going to punch you in the face. That's the nature of the sport, is to not be out of position as often as possible. And you're not allowed to cheat to not be out of position. You're not allowed to duck below the waist. You're not allowed to turn your back. You're not allowed to hold your opponent's head down. You're not allowed to grab your opponent. Least of all, grab their head, right? Lean on top of them, literally wrestling and hold. Now the ref said stop. He said stop already. The ref is there and he's still holding and shoving his head down. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Disgusting. Disgusting. Now, he's not without his fouls, right? Look at that. Wrapping his arm around his butt. Come on, did he? Come on now. But a lot of fouls, a lot of very, very, very blatant and, you know, ugly stuff. Control, control, control. Look at him shoving and holding his hand on top of his face so he can smack him with the uppercut, right? Again, in real time, I want to say, like, man, I guess it doesn't look like that much in real time, but like that's still blatant, you know? It's still like part of the fouls. And then now I want you guys to pay attention to just Jack Catterall real quick. Look at his defense here. Like, is this good defense? Ducking, right? Turning his back a little bit. Now he hasn't looked to engage or touch Taylor at all, and Taylor doesn't want to pay or be out of position for his shot either, right? So immediately holding his head down. Catterall literally didn't do anything, and Taylor is shoving his head down. Okay? Again, didn't attempt to counter, didn't, again, disgusting. Foul-filled affair for sure. Oh, is this an accident, guys? And holding his head down, Jack Catterall pretending like he's the victim. Not a fan of that. All right, let's get through this stuff here. Mm. Shoving him. Now, now they went from one clinch, okay, and they're gonna go immediately to another clinch. Okay, and this was like the majority of the fight, and this is probably the biggest problem in all of boxing. Again, holding for what? So that they can both rest. And how much of the fight did all that holding take up? You know. Now this clip is really interesting. Holding. This is right at the beginning of the seventh round. Why is he holding here? Why is he not circling? How did he wind up in this terrible position? Now the ref telling him to break, telling him to break, telling him to break. Gonna warn him for holding. Oh yeah, mate. Oh yeah, okay. And then what's the next thing that happens? Same. Throws a shot, and now he's immediately holding. Now again, just take a look at Jack Catterall. Look at this punch that he throws. That is a heater. And again, because he doesn't know how to feint and probe and control the distance, he doesn't know how to control space between him and his opponent. He doesn't know how to change positions. Because he doesn't know how to do all this stuff, um, he has a very, very, very difficult job keeping Taylor off of him with anything but that punch. So he has to fill all that space in where he doesn't want to just be machine gunning all these explosive punches at his opponent, where he has to hold him. He has to grab. He has to make it ugly, you know. And the problem with the fight, it was ugly. Look at those frames from Taylor. Again, a lot of control, a lot of ugliness in the fight. But I think that if the referee does a good job, Jack Catterall is going to get too tired to be able to compete. Right on top of him, right into a headlock. Um, but I think that Jack Catterall is not as tough as Josh Taylor, and I think that again, Josh Taylor getting punched in the body and then grabbing for Jack Catterall's head, holding him so he can get him close enough to hit him. Holding and hitting, illegal, right? Even if Jack Catterall did a good job here setting this body shot up, boom, one of the few body shots that he threw as well, he's getting punished for it by illegal activity, not being allowed to leave this position. Anyway, what's my call for the fight is if it's officiated well and there isn't a lot of ducking below the waist and the roughhouse tactics and um, everyone follows the real rules, Josh Taylor beats the crap out of Jack Catterall. Maybe. I don't know. It's tough to say because, what if this time he's like, okay, well, I did land some really, really good straight lefts. If I didn't hit like a girl, I would have knocked him out. So I'm just going to practice my straight left. Like, I'm going to throw 2,000 of those bad boys a day, and then all of a sudden he got really good. And then he knocks Josh Taylor out in the first round. Could happen. Josh Taylor's guard sucks. It's so bad. But if they're the same guys and they meet and like nothing has really changed except they have to follow the rules, uh, Josh Taylor's really tough. I think he's really tough. You know, they're both pretty mean. Blatantly fouling and whatever, whatever. Um, but I think that Josh Taylor will be able to take more of those pity pat punches than Jack Catterall. I think Jack Catterall wants that clean fight, that real pretty Mayweather esque style. And anything that's other than that will be very discouraging for him. Um, but but yeah, if the fight is allowed to have that kind of holding and and Josh Taylor is okay with it and he allows the holding and he doesn't make a fuss, he should lose. You know, watching the first fight, I thought Jack Catterall won. And I didn't score this one when I watched it again, but I didn't think Taylor won. But definitely did not feel like Catterall won with all of the fouling, all of the ducking, all of the, I just thought it was so excessive. All the, every time he missed a punch, just grabbing for the head. Josh Taylor's felt a little bit more mild, a little bit more, like more like seasoned vet than just blatantly like rules hacking. Like, well, this is a rule. How do we exploit it? Right? Like, just imagine if this was always the guard that he came to the line in, Jack Catterall, right? His head's just ducked below the waist like this, and he's like, all right, come hit me. Come throw some punches at me, bro. Like, come on. How stupid is that, guys? And and if there's, if they're allowed to wrestle and they're allowed to, and the ref lets them wrestle in the parts that's legal, I don't want to say wrestle, not wrestle, but, you know, clinching, wrestling with the arms, not the body and not the head. Um, and Jack Catterall's forced to do it by the rules. I think Jack Catterall gets too tired. I think that he doesn't have the stamina to be keeping Josh Taylor off of his line, and Josh Taylor, if Josh Taylor doesn't, if he doesn't ruin the fight himself, if he doesn't spoil it by holding and you know pushing his opponent's head down and he punches him instead, then then I think he has a really good shot at actually winning this fight, actually winning. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who's your pick? What do you guys think about the fouling? Blah 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 blah.